Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another amazing edition of Black Authors Matter TV. And welcome to the show. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And we hope you all are having a good week. And for those in the Houston area, because I'm in Houston, and we had some weather last week. And fortunately, we were spared in terms of anything bad happening. Although we did have high winds and hard rain, but we didn't lose power, but a lot of people did. So I hope those who did.
One lost power. He lives in Katy.
Okay, yeah, Katy lost power. So in downtown, it kind of bypassed us, the worst part of it. And my daughter was actually downtown when it was happening, but she was in the tunnels. Houston has that tunnel system like Atlanta does.
Okay.
Under the downtown where they have shops and restaurants in the tunnels. So she was actually in the tunnels. They went after work because it happened around 5, 6 o'clock. So they just stayed down underground. And a lot of people were there, she said, but they could hear like some of the windows breaking from the high winds. So anyway, thank you all who inquired, and we were spared any negative effects personally, but we pray for those who, and I think everybody's got their power back on now, so because it is hot now. We had that weather and now it's 90 something. So anyway, those of you all who joined us last week for the award show, it was amazing. And we've if you want to watch it, it's online. I think we've already got like 7,000 views. Last week's award show. So go check it out. It was really, really amazing. And for those who won, congratulations. Well, our first guest has been on the show before, but it's been a number of years. And it's Max Rodriguez. He is the coordinator, founder, and I don't know what all of his titles are, but the Harlem Book Fair is his baby. So he is joining us to, I know they're having it kind of soon. It's not like impending. It's not happening next month, but it's happening in a few months. And we wanted to get him back on to talk about the Harlem Book Fair, because I think he was on in 2020.
Yeah, I remember that.
The first year we had the show. So over 600 guests later, he's back. So Max, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Oh, I should say welcome back.
Yeah,
and
welcome
I need to
back.
get you to unmute. Can you unmute your mic?
He's trying.
There you go.
There he is.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, Glenn. Dr. Rhonda.
Hello, good to see you again.
All right, good to see you both.
Yeah.
Thriving and surviving and doing everything we know we can do.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
good,
well,
good. Thank you for inviting me again.
Yeah, we like the little train that could, or now it's a big train. So
there you go. There you go. Let's get it right now.
we're moving on. We're moving forward, and
we are. We all used to be little trains, and now, because of everybody who sort of follows what we're doing, and all of the readers and the writers, we've gotten to be a little bit more than a little train. So that's good for all of us.
It is.
I think the people who don't believe in the little trains, because it makes us work harder.
That's right. That's right.
Well, and plus, a lot of people can be a flash in the pan. That's easy. Being a flash in the pan is easy. You just, have some hype that lasts a few months and then you're gone. So it's a lot better to have longevity and consistency and
It is. You know,
professionalism.
that's right. You know, they say the winner is the last woman standing.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So, Max, you're the founder of the Harlem Book Fair. It's your like your dream, your vision.
It is. It is. You know,
And what year
I
is
get
this?
I get to
What
do
year is
my
this for
version.
you?
This is our 26th year.
Wow,
Oh,
you've
Our
okay.
been a
26th.
while.
Congratulations
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I get to do my version of my best possible life because, like y'all, I get to tell our stories, right? I get to hold a space, right, of our
Right,
stories being told, and there's nothing more important, you know, than knowing who we are and having a vision for our future and having those platforms where we can share those visions, you know, share those futures. So yeah, I'm having fun. People tell me I work too hard, but I say I don't work a day in my life. You know, this is all creative work. It's play.
Yeah, you're doing what you love.
Yeah, I am. I really am. Thank you. Yeah.
now what
Just like
made
you, both of
you,
you. Look at that
well,
smile on your faces. Show what you got.
that is true. So what, if you can think back to 26 years ago, what made you say, we need a Harlem Book Fair and I'm the one to do it?
So 26 years ago, 2 years before that, I founded QBR, the Black Book Review.
Yes.
And
Okay, yes.
our, our offices were downtown New York City in Soho. And I got a call from a gentleman up at in Harlem, the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone, and he said, "We're we're rebuilding Harlem economically. We're looking for businesses that are sustainable, that have proven themselves as sustainable businesses. We'd like to know if you'd like to move your business into Harlem, and I would consider that." And then he said, "And we'll pay you for it." And I said,
Hey.
Oh,
I think that's a yes. So when I moved the business up to Harlem, QBR, the Black Book Review, the first thing I noticed that there was no event in Harlem, the home of the Harlem Renaissance, that celebrated our books, our writers, our stories. So I began the Harlem Book Fair. It wasn't going to be named the Harlem Book Fair. There's a street in Harlem. It's called Strivers Row.
Yes, I've heard
mhm,
of
A
yes.
Shreveport.
Right. So a lot of limestone, townhouses, the elite of Black society lived in Strivers Row, obviously the name. We were going to call it the Strivers Row Book Fair. I thought that was a little too, cheechy. So I said, no, let's not do that. Not everybody's gonna is not gonna know what Strivers Row is, and it's not what we want to project. Certainly we are that, but we are much broader than that. This is about all of our voices, right?
Okay.
And so I said, let's call it the Harlem Book Fair. And it's resonated. And this is our 26th year.
Wow.
Well, so how many authors do you think that have come through the Harlem Book Fair? If you were to just guess a number.
Oh, let's see. How many grains of sand, stars in the sky?
Lot.
A lot. Over 26 years, you figure on average we have about 200 authors that come through the book fair
That's
or through the
wonderful.
weekend.
Okay.
So, whatever that number is, it's around that.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of participating in the Harlem Book Fair years ago. And I always said that when I came back to the East Coast, I wanted to do the event again. So but of course I came back during COVID.
Ah, okay. Okay. Good. So it's never too late. It's never too late, Doc.
Yes, I'm back. I'm back.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she's on the East Coast. I'm not, but it would be great to be able to go and participate.
Yes.
What are your dates for this year?
It's the weekend of September 7th.
Okay. We can.
Like
So
for
is it
you, it may
2 days?
not. It's yeah, Friday and Saturday actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Friday there will be events, but the book fair itself will be Saturday.
I'm there. I'm there.
Okay,
Is it too
that's
late?
good. Well, seriously, let me know if you're coming because we'll create something for you.
Oh wow.
We'll we'll give we'll
You know
stand
what?
you up.
I'm saying it publicly. I will be there September 7th. You said 6th and 7th?
That's right. Friday night, or it's it's our cocktail party kind of thing for authors.
Yeah.
That's Friday night, and then Saturday we get to work.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to email you. I really want to come because, like I said, I remember when the first time I did it, when I wrote my first book, and just walking through the Harlem Book Fair on that Saturday and seeing the amount of authors there. I mean, from first-time authors all the way up to experienced authors. So many independent publishers were there supporting their authors. And it
Right.
was a beautiful event. I mean, just seeing what you've been able to accomplish over the years and that people still want to come. They still think of the Harlem Book Fair as an institution. I mean, I think that says a lot about what you all have started.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Would love to have you there. Let me know. Let's connect, and we'll we'll put a halo around you.
Well, you know what? You could do a Black Authors Matter TV broadcast from there,
Oh
and
yeah.
we have to put our heads together and figure something out for that.
Yes, that would be
That
amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And we
So
did a
can
live
I share
feed.
with you? Can I share with you the where we're going this
Yes,
year?
please
Yeah.
do.
So, I've always been of the mind that I wanted to build out the Harlem Book Fair to be a world-class book festival of the Black diaspora, right? So that when you turn the corner and you feel that energy, you're also hearing the music from Black countries around the world. In my final picture, you turn the corner and you see the flag of nations.
Mm.
Mm.
So a first step towards that is we're going to have for the first time, a guest country,
Wow.
and that guest country will be Haiti, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
we're going to do that next year. It's going to be Jamaica and Nigeria. So,
So,
but here's the point that
okay.
we want to present these books not just as singular authors, but as a Black cultural intelligence with 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 United States based authors as the host of these world countries,
Okay.
right?
Now,
So we are doing more along with. I'm sorry, Gwen. Along with
no, go
selling
ahead.
books,
I'll
we're
keep my thought.
also, thank you. We're also presenting Black authors in the space of writing leadership, of cultural leadership globally. So it is a book fair, but it's about global we are, right? Global I am, which is one of our mottos, one of our taglines, global I am. We are global, but specific to Black writers here, we have leadership in that space. And all of our writers from this year will be the host for writers to come, for writers from countries around the world. So that's how we're building this out. It's going to be amazing because it's who we are. We're just, we tell stories, but we're going beyond the stories. We're talking about who we are as a people.
Mm.
First of
So,
all, that's amazing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, because you had a
well,
question.
I wanted to know, is it still outside? Is it
It's
still
still
completely
outside,
outside?
still outside. Yeah, last year, we had a torrential rain and we had to find an indoor space quickly, and we did, and it was insane, but surprisingly, the responses that I got was Max, good job, nice pivoting. Yeah, we got rained out. Yeah, the crowds weren't there. It was short notice, all of that. But we see what this is. we'll see you next year. And
Well,
here we
that's
are.
great that you were able to pivot. I think many times that is usually what people appreciate. I mean, you can't be blamed for the rain, but you
No,
can be,
we don't control
but
that.
you can be commended for how you respond to something like that. And I think that that was great that you were able to respond so quickly, and still the authors were able to get something from it.
Yeah, yeah. I got to tell you, because we know this. That day I died. Okay, because that you know the stress of having something set
Yeah.
up, having many people, right, and then having to switch at the last moment. So it was a reincarnation for me, and actually, it was so challenging, and in that challenge, it brought us to this new vision for the book fair. So yes, it's going to be outside, and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to be there, all of our glory, all of our spirit.
Well, my question was going back to the host, to the guest countries, which I think is an amazing addition. Are the countries like bringing their own authors in? So there's going to be like maybe a pavilion of Haitian authors?
That's right.
Oh,
That's
that's
right.
Oh,
wonderful.
wow. That
Mhm.
Is
that's
that
really
going to be a
creative
challenge
and
though? With the language barrier, do a lot of those Haitian authors write in English as well?
They do. They do. I mean, they speak Creole, they speak French as their first and second languages, and obviously English. There's a very large Haitian American community in the U.S., and they're being called to.
Did the
Yeah.
recent um revolutionary activity or coup or however in the Haiti, did did that impact what you were doing with the book fair and having your focus on Haiti?
Yeah, well, it did influence it because Haiti is projected as well. It has its projection, right, of poverty, of under education, and these are projections, but that's not all of Haiti. And if we're going to simply accept the projections, we have a history of being projected upon, right,
Yeah.
or being projected about. And so we should have a little wider vision than to only accept the projection about any particular people. In fact, in speaking to my contacts in Haiti, they tell me that it's what's happening in Port-au-Prince is particular to Port-au-Prince. Haiti is shut down because the major airport is in Port-au-Prince, so everything is shut down, but around the rest of the island remains tranquil. So
Mm.
but that's not projected. So it does inform us because we want to project a more balanced truth about Haiti.
Yes.
um, but it hasn't impeded us in gathering the conversations around the book fair.
Well, that's great. And you are right. And the media is if it bleeds, it leads. And so that's what they focus on. That's where
That's
they
good.
go. And a
Yeah,
lot of times that's all they show. That's it.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
so you don't get the balance. So if people want to, if they're authors or other people, publishers who want to attend, are you still accepting vendors?
We are accepting vendors. We are accepting vendors until um, July, the end of July, until we get to capacity.
Okay.
And we're just over 60% of capacity.
Oh,
So
well, I better
Okay.
hurry up.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. As always, we never make sure we always make sure that price is not a barrier to participation. We make it very cost effective to participate. You're basically covering the cost of the rental of the tent, the tables and chairs. That's basically what's being paid for there. Because it's just important that there be a platform for us in a conversation of intellectual capital, right? Of vision, of Black future, and these stories. That's what they're all about. They talk about, some of them talk about our past. Many talk about our stories today, and whether they're fiction or nonfiction, they're still our history, and there's still a statement about I am here, right? And I see. And and that's what the book fair is. I think when you turn the corner, the first thing you when you turn the corner of the book festival, the first thing you feel is all of that energy, you know. And that's I remember someone saying he said, man, I'm in book heaven. And I said, yeah, that's that's right. You know.
Well,
So
times have,
so
no, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. I asked my question later.
no, you didn't.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you didn't.
Oh, okay.
No,
Well,
you
I was
didn't.
just going to say times have changed. I became an author in the early
Mm.
2000s, and there was a huge book boom of Black fiction at that time. And you could not walk down the streets of New York. I had gone to New York to for book signings a few times, and everywhere you went, there were vendors selling books. There were more bookstores back then. Have you seen the landscape of New York change as the years have gone by?
Well, yes, they have. You know, between economics, recession, um, COVID, just the impact of of the economic impact on COVID. I don't think there's enough conversation about that. They say it, but they don't show the step by step why COVID has caused the economic landscape that we see now. Right. So yeah, there were two bookstores thriving in Harlem. There were three. Now there's one. There were booksellers almost on every corner. Just you walk down the street and someone is selling books from a table. They're gone. It's changed, and the landscape for for bringing getting your book to an audience has changed dramatically. It just changed dramatically. It's like we like to say, publish your book and then the work begins, right?
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah, but so finding that audience is tough. That's why work like yours, Rhonda, your show, Gwen, yours, that's why these are important, because we have so few outlets to reach our audiences with our stories. And it's not just that we're reaching our audience with our stories. These books are life affirming. They're
Yeah.
self, they're self affirming. When I read them, I know I'm not alone. I know that what I'm going through is a shared experience, and it helps balance unconsciously. It helps balance my frustration or my despair, or they give me hope, a way out of no way kind of thing, you
Mhm.
know. So, it all matters. The landscape has changed, and it makes our work even more important. It makes the Harlem Book Fair an institution, and it makes Black Authors Matter an institution, a necessary institution. Mhm.
So I did want to ask one more question about if an author wanted to attend and register as a vendor, they get, what do they get? They get the tent along with the table and the chairs.
They can choose between having just a table, so it's tiered, right? It's
Okay.
scaffolded by pricing, right?
Okay.
Starting, Frank, I thought it starts at $75. It's a low entry level. You can have just a table and chair, anywhere from a tent to even have a shared tent, so you can split the cost.
Okay.
Um, yeah, this is not. What's important is that we be present, that we have the event, that we have this platform. It's not so, you know, the benefit to me is that this is all under my not-for-profit umbrella. So, so the financial losses get written off at the end of the year, whatever they may be. But, I'd rather keep the prices low than to make sure everything is paid up front and
Yes.
charge more, to
Mhm.
have to do it, because then that means that fewer people are going to come, you know.
Right. Right.
And what's most important is that when you turn that corner, everyone says, ah, this is our Black vision.
Yeah, that I know that the feeling is it's the same when people come to our event and they walk in, they're like, wow. You
Yeah.
know, they didn't have any out of the National Black Book Festival. They didn't have
Yep.
any idea. You know, a lot of people they hear about 2, 3 Black authors and they think that's it. But you know, now that people can self-publish and it's economically viable and reasonable, there are thousands upon thousands now, and people are made, but they don't get the exposure, so people don't know they exist, and hence the our show and what you do, they're so important. So
Mm-hmm.
you had said you wanted to talk about, because we're getting short on time, you wanted to talk about QBR, or there was something you wanted to make sure you let the audience know about.
Thanks. So I'm asking, so if you don't know about QBR, the Black Book Review, we started that 28 years ago. It's been called the African American Book Review of Record by Martin Arnold, a cultural critic at the New York Times. It's where your book review can be read. It's one of those platforms like Black Authors Matters and the convention where your voice, your book can find an audience. The I don't know how we do this. So the book review is free to our readers, to Harlem Book Fair followers and QBR readers. It goes out every month to over 40,000 readers. So if you're reviewed in QBR, you at least know that that many people are going to have access to your publication, to your title. So that's it. If you're interested in that, how do we do this, Gwen?
Well, if there's a link, Rhonda will put it in the chat. If there's a website people need to go to.
I put the Harlem
or,
Book Fair link in the chat. I don't see, is there a separate link for QBR?
There is a separate link for QBR, but there is the link for the review option. I don't believe is on QBR. I'll make sure that it's on Harlem Book Fair. I'll make sure it's on the Harlem Book Fair site. Okay, I'll take care of that next.
Okay.
So
and
yeah, I did put
QBR
the link to the Harlem Book Fair in the chat. And for anybody who is interested in signing up, I know you said you're about 60% of capacity right now. The deadline is August 9th, is it?
That's right. That's good.
Okay.
That'll work.
Okay.
I say that'll work because we will be at capacity by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said I better hurry up.
Yeah. Yeah. So when people, how does someone get their book reviewed at QBR?
There'll be a link and there's a form that asks for your book information. You'll have to write a summary. You'll have to give me some book record, your ISBN number. You'll have to send a book in, or either a physical book or send it in as a PDF to an email to our reviews@QBR. And that's how we start the process. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
Do you read any type of book? Like, let's say somebody wants to send in a poetry book, or somebody wants to send in a nonfiction, or even a fiction book. So is it everything, or do you have certain guidelines?
It's everything, all genres.
Okay.
All genres.
And is it date specific, year specific? Does it have to be published this year?
I've been asked to be more date specific, but my idea is that for me, a new book is a book I've never read before.
There you go.
Okay.
I said that, the book may have been out 10 years, but there's somebody who hasn't read it yet.
That's right. And if it's a good book, we want to let people know about it. You know, if
Well,
it's something you should do, then let's talk about it.
that's
And we
true
also
because
do,
some of the best books are not
that's
new
right.
ones.
Oh, I had some of my favorites. All right, Gwen and Rhonda, tell me right now your favorite book.
I don't
Oh,
have
God,
one
so
favorite
many.
because I don't I read too much. I read too much to give one. Somebody asked me that yesterday. I was doing a book club discussion of my novel, and they asked me who was my favorite author, and I told them I don't have a favorite author because I have favorite books that I've liked, and it's an accumulation. And an author may have one book that's just a smashing success. It's
Right.
wonderful, and then like they expend everything in that book, and then after that it drops off. So
We we call those one hit wonders.
okay, yeah. Well, sometimes they can have more than one hit, but it's like singers. After a while, all their stuff starts to sound alike.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I don't
So
have a favorite author, and I don't even have one favorite book,
I
but I
have
have
an
an
answer.
accumulation of books.
I have an answer for you, Gwen. When somebody asks you who your favorite author is, you got to say me.
See, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to sound all selfish and everything.
That's the right answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the end of our time, unfortunately. I do want to let you know, Max, I'm going to be contacting you about a book project I'm doing, and
Nice.
I'll just leave it at that. But I want to be contacting you about
I'm
something
happy to
I'm
help,
working
Gwen.
on
I'm
for
happy to
for
help.
the second half of the year, and I'm just so glad to still see you around and you know
Thank,
thriving, and you're still pursuing your passion and your vision and your mission. And it takes a
until I
lot to
die.
be around for 26 years doing the same thing. That's real commitment.
Yeah, it's not commitment. It's like it's us.
Yes.
It's our stories. Not only is us, but it's the best of our stories told in the best possible way. Where is the work in that?
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
that's a good
That's a love
statement to
for the
close on.
industry. Yes. A love for the culture. I love it.
Rhonda said that's a love story.
It is. It
Yeah.
And
is.
thank you. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Okay, Max, thanks again.
All right, Gwen.
And
All
we'll
right.
I'm sure you're gonna get some sign-ups from this interview because we do circulate, we boost all of our shows, and so they get several thousand views. So you'll get some
Okay. I'm happy
responses
to
and
talk to both of
reviews
you.
too.
All right. Absolutely. Thank you both
Okay.
for your work. Thank you both for
Okay,
your
well,
Thank
work.
you for yours.
yeah.
Thank you. When authors say thank you for your work, I always say to them, but it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have any work to do. So there we go.
Yeah, this is it's great synergy.
All right, it is. Thank you both.
Okay,
Thank you.
take
You have a
care.
wonderful evening.
You too. I'll speak with you both soon.
Thank
Okay,
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
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 That reminded me of one housekeeping note that I have before I bring on our next guest. The book festival, we're at 80% capacity. And so the registrations are still open, but we're getting close to sell out. I knew we would sell out by the end of June. It might be sooner than that. Also, at the end of May, the standard registration ends, and after May 31st, it's late registration. So the price goes up, the terms are different. If you do want to sign up, I suggest for price sake and also to make sure you have a slot, sign up by May 31st. And the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Award deadline, the deadline for submitting your book for this year is June 3rd. So there's a couple of deadlines coming up very soon. May 31st is next Friday or the end of the standard registration for the festival. And June 3rd, I think, is that Monday for the deadline for the Children's Book Award. So we've gotten some amazing submissions this year so far. And normally that last 2 weeks before is when we get a mad rush at the end. So If you think your book, well, you never know. Send it in. You never know. It could be a finalist, and the finalists get recognition as well as the winners get amazing recognition. So our next guest is Tammie Martin, and Tammie Martin is the owner of a bookstore in Shreveport, Louisiana called KRC Bookstore. And Rhonda is clapping. I don't know if she's clapping for Shreveport. Is she clapping
I'm clapping for Louisiana.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, I'm from New Orleans, so
I know.
have love for Louisiana.
I know, but it's Shreveport, like a good distance from New Orleans. And in the
It's
north
about
part.
5 hours, I think. It's about 5
Yeah.
hours, right, Tammie?
Yeah, it's like north. It's in the north part of Louisiana.
Right.
Yes.
It's
Well,
practically Texas.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of stuff is touching Texas, a lot of states touch Texas. And as I tell people all the time, Texas is big. So I know they hear it, but it really is. So Tammie,
I have
welcome.
a question, Tammie. Are you a Saints fan or a Cowboy fan?
She needs to unmute first.
I'm not a sports fan.
Oh, okay. So
a lot of people in Shreveport are actually Cowboy fans. They're not New Orleans Saints fans.
Because they're closer to Dallas, I think, than they are to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Because Dallas is west, but it's on the same parallel as Shreveport. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, Tammie.
Thank you.
Now, are you still in Shreveport? Is your bookstore still in Shreveport, or
Actually, my office is in Shreveport because I'm so close to the Louisiana state line. I'm in East Texas. Most people don't know what a little town is, so I just say East Texas.
Okay, what's the name of it?
Marshall.
Yeah, we know
Marshall. Well, we know Marshall because we go through Marshall when we go on our road trips and take 59 north. When we go the northern route, we go on a road trip to North Carolina. We take 59 north, and that's we go through Marshall when we do that. So, and Marshall's not that small, is it? What's the population?
It's not the smallest town, but it is pretty small.
Okay. Okay. But I hear people talking about Marshall more than I hear about some of the other small towns. But I think they have a pretty significant Black population in Marshall.
Yeah, well, we have Wiley College here, so we have we have a
okay.
That's well-known HBCU.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. So tell us about your bookstore.
Okay, well, the name of my bookstore is KRC Bookstore, and it stemmed out from me being an author first. And after I had a few books, then I decided to create a bookstore. For me, it doesn't do it until I'm sharing my platform with somebody. So that's just, me in a nutshell.
Okay, so you open a whole bookstore for your books. I think that's a bold move.
I like it.
And that's a commitment. That's a commitment. So what kinds of books do you typically have? What other books do you curate? And tell us about the kind of books you write. What genres do you focus on?
Well, my bookstore is about building the Black community with celebrating Black literature. So all our books is about inspiration, empowerment, education, and encouragement. So they all fall within that category because the Bible teaches us, my people perish due to the lack of knowledge. So you got to give them some knowledge. And where you find knowledge is in the book, because we believe that everything and anything can be found in the book. You just have to find the right book.
Amen. Amen to that.
And it's good to have facts and, rather than solely emotion.
Yes, ma'am. Man cannot buy bread alone.
Yeah. So now when did you open your bookstore?
We've been in existence since about 2020. I started this journey on being an author. After writing a few books, then that's when I decided to, like I said, to open up the bookstore to create a platform, not only just for myself, but for other authors who are, dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with as an author. As any business owner, it's marketing, marketing, marketing. structure, getting your information out there, telling the people about what you're doing. So that's what, the KRC Bookstore is a full platform for celebrating Black literature.
Okay. Now, what does KRC stand for?
Those are actually my children's name. They're their initials. K is for my son Kelvin, R is for my son Rodney, and C is for our daughter Claudette.
So do they feel like they have a piece of ownership with the store as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's what, I'm trying to build a legacy for my children. So that way, once they get of age, they'll have something to fall back on. Because life gets hard, jobs go away. So I definitely want to create a platform for my children to be able to at least have the opportunity of having something that bears, that's a part of them, their legacy.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Now, how old are your children?
My oldest is 24, and I have a 23-year-old and a 17-year-old. So I'm
Oh, okay.
almost.
So they're big children, but I
Yes.
get it.
They're your
They're your
children, though.
children. They're your children. I don't care how old they get.
Always my baby.
That's mine's. I have one. Well, I have one that I've given birth to that's 28, but I have stepchildren that are much older than that. So, two of whom I helped raise as well. Two young men I helped raise as well from when they were little boys.
So do you run the business kind of as is it like a true family business where your kids and yourself, your spouse, you're all kind of running different aspects of the business?
Well, it's mostly all me, but my son does help me out when I have various events. He's my strong arm person. My daughter does step in and help every so often, and then my 24 is my special needs baby. So, he helped where he want to help, and then when he get tired of helping, then I'm like, okay, well, now I ain't about to argue with you.
Yeah. Now, did you start during COVID? Did you start your bookstore? Did you open during COVID or after? Well, if you were in 2020, it was during COVID, unless it was in January and February.
Yeah, it wasn't quite COVID. It was after COVID. When I opened up.
Okay. Well, it lasted for 2 full years. So,
ma'am.
When I was saying it was after the height of COVID, because the height of COVID,
right? Because I was saying
spring, and then people kind of got used to life around the fall, going to the winter time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You'd be surprised how we think that things are so horrible and bleak, but you adapt. You recognize things for what they are because these things are going to come. So when they come, you just roll with the punches and adapt because you still got to live.
Well, even though COVID was a really terrible time for a lot of people, it was actually a pretty decent year for me. I mean, I was able to pay off some debt during 2020. I started investing in 2020. I moved here to the DC area in 2020. So, sometimes it's what you make of it. But I know that my experience was not everybody's experience, so I don't brag on it. Some people had it very hard during that time.
Yeah.
I just feel that I was blessed during that year to where I didn't have to experience what a lot of other people experienced that year.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I do understand that. I'm just one of them type of people that whatever comes my way, if I gotta duck and dodge, I duck and dodge. If I gotta run faster, I just run fast. If I need to slow down, then hey, I just slow down. It's just, like I said, life is what you make it. Things can be a lot harder than what you let them be. You just recognize it as such. If it's here, then okay, it's here. Let's deal with it. Let's go. Let's see what we got to do because the reality is, you still gotta, eat. You still gotta live.
Yeah.
So, what's the plan? How are we gonna, combat this thing?
Yeah. Now, what are some of your books that get the most attention in your store? Or genres of books, or not necessarily titles, but categories of books?
Well, they all pretty much get, because when I do various events, I have children's books as well. So when I put the children's books up there, and you know, I try to put them at a point where the kids can see them, you know, to encourage them to want to pick a book up and read. And all my books are by Black authors, so it puts the, you know, put them out there, you know, where they can see somebody that looks like them. So they all have their own particular popularity level. It really depends on where I go. You know, I try to go in places where I pretty much know my audience base is going to be, with where at least get people's attention. And I'm really good about, you know, getting those contact information. You know, hey, you know, let me get your information. You know, if I'm doing a raffle or something like that. So they all pretty much get, you know, a lot of attention. You know, because it's about, you know, inspiring the community and encouraging the community, empowering.
The author community in Shreveport has actually picked up a bit as well. There are a lot more authors in the area now. Do you find yourself doing more author events and reader events?
I have not got an opportunity to tap into that audience in Shreveport. I know it's there and I see it. I do a lot of interaction with people on social media and so forth. The area that I did notice that has quite a bit of author community and so forth is New Orleans. I just recently did an event down there. I traveled there for a really big event, so I was just
Were you
excited.
there for the Black Ink Festival?
Ma'am?
Was it the Black Ink Festival?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, I pretty much, I'm a believer that you can find your audience, you know, just about, you know, anywhere, you know, long as you in the right pool, you know, because the books that I sell are, you know, Black books and by Black authors and so forth. I do make sure I do events that, you know, cater to the Black community. You know, with Juneteenth, I do really, really good. Mother's Day, I do really, really good. So I always try to, you know, pivot and, you know, put my marketing strategy together based upon the area that I'm in, you know, and I'm really good about reading people initially. And if I can't read you, I just simply just say, hey, come on over here and look at my books.
There you go. Come buy my book. Come look at it.
Always.
Now you're also planning event for, I believe it's July.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Tell us about that.
Okay, well, this is a particular event that I do every year. I've been doing it since 2022. I celebrated during my birthday time. I decided that, okay, I'm not really big on my birthday and so forth. So, you know, what can I do to, take my business to the next level? So I created a award event. So this is my third year. I celebrate, you know, Black authors, not just in Houston where it's going to be locally in person, but I also do a stream through StreamYard. So there's other authors in other areas that actually get awarded. So I give out plaques. We have food, we have entertainment. Actually, last year was the first year we had, you know, entertainment. Well, that type of, and it was a live band. So I just looked upon that. So, you know, I was excited about it when I ended up coming across this particular band, and they did an amazing job. They helped me out tremendously, you know, with the music outside of, you know, them playing and so forth. And then we had food and we just had a good time. We had an amazing MC. We had some speakers. We had a virtual host. It was just, you know, we just had a good time, you know, just celebrating Black literature, you know, and commemorating people and encouraging people, you know, along the way. And we have other vendors as well outside of author vendors. So it's, you know, it was just amazing time. You know, the first year it was like, oh my God, you know, what I got myself into, but I made it through. And so I was like, you know what? I enjoyed this. And this was like something, you know, I wanted to do for my birthday. And it was just, you know, it was just wonderful. And it made me feel really, really, really good. I was exhausted, but I felt really good about it. So I did it the second year. So this year we're doing it a third year. It's going to be at 2 p.m. It's actually going to be at the Cypress Vineyard. It's a really, really nice vineyard that's out on Jones Road. I can share the flyer with anybody who's interested in seeing it. If you're interested in attending, please come through and celebrate Black literature with us. Support these authors, support these business owners. Just let them know you appreciate what they're doing, because writing a book is not a hard thing. It is a tedious task, and it's so rewarding. And so that was what this was all about, because I know people in business, they get discouraged, especially when the sales ain't what they want it to be.
Right.
So, I created this to let them know that we appreciate them for what they doing and keep doing it, keep up the good work, keep fighting, keep striving. So it's encouraging for the authors as well.
Okay, so what is the actual name of the event?
Okay, it's called It's in a Book Awards.
It's in a book. Okay,
Mhm.
award. And what's the name of the venue?
It is called Cypress Vineyard. And I'm gonna give y'all the physical address. It's called Cypress Vineyard. I think they've been in existence for a couple years. So amazing young lady. She came in, she did our video, she did our pictures, and just, she just did an amazing job. And so, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
And it's
Okay, now
going to
what's the second word you said? Cypress, what's the
Cypress
Vineyard?
Vineyard.
like vineyard, like wine?
Vineyard, Venue, Vineyard.
Oh, venue.
Venue.
Okay, I thought you were saying vineyard.
Bad
That's why I
language.
was like, I don't know, we can grow grapes here. It's too hot. Okay, and when? And it's on Jones Road.
Yes, ma'am. The physical address is 9934 Jones Road, and that's Suite A like an apple 4. And it's in Houston, and the zip code is 77065.
And the date is?
It is going to be the 27th of July, which is the last Saturday of the month of July.
Okay.
The tickets on Eventbrite, as well as if you're interested in vending, or if you're an author and you're interested in having a setup like a book signing and so forth like that. It's a really cool ordeal. It's a book signing without needing to provide all your attendees, because there's attendees there and you can invite people in your following as well.
So it is an indoor event.
Yes, ma'am. It's indoor.
Yeah.
It's going to be a purple carpet event. It's the red carpet.
Okay, purple carpet. Because outdoor events in Houston in July, I know people do them, but I don't do them. It's just too hot.
When you go to Tammie's event, I'm gonna be in New York on
well, you know what? Don't count me out, because we need to talk after. I told you we need to talk after the show about New York. So don't count me out, Ron.
No, this is a different thing I'm going to New York for, because I'm gonna be in New York the day of Tammie's event, so I can't go to the Houston.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I can, because it's right down. In fact, Jones Road that's on the same side of town that I live on. So it's really like, it might be 15 minutes or 20 minutes at the most from me.
Okay, awesome. Well, if a person is not able to attend, you're still able to support. If you go on the Eventbrite page and look up It's in the Book, there's an area where you can actually make a donation. So if you're not able to attend and you still want to support the efforts that we do, because we travel and so forth, if you help out with those different financial, obligations and so forth, you're more than welcome to make a donation. We have swag bag opportunities where we're going to be giving our swag bags to the authors and the vendors and so forth. So, if you want to take advantage of that opportunity, you definitely can. That is a small cost to be a swag bag vendor, but it makes a really big impact. You have your stuff off in somebody's bag, and everybody is guaranteed to get your stuff, so we make them up, we put them up real nice, we put some candy in there. You'd be surprised, somebody eating some candy, they gonna reach in there and they gonna pick up your card and read your card. So if you have just something as simple as cards to put in there, put some cards in a swag bag. So take advantage of that particular opportunity. So there's a whole lot of ways you can support.
There you go. I love it.
So
I was just going to ask if there were sponsorship opportunities And it sounds like that's a good way to take part in the sponsorship opportunities while still supporting the event.
Yes, ma'am, please do. I definitely appreciate any amount of support. There's no such thing as a too small. There's no such thing as being too big. You know, we definitely, appreciate the support.
So how are you able to create synergy with your bookstore and your event? Are you able to make them work together, combine them? How are you able to include your bookstore with the event or vice versa?
Well, we bring the books with us. So we do have a little corner set up that has the books. So just like any other vendor, we'll have the books there that will be on racks and be accessible for, people to look at and read over and see if it's something that they want to take advantage of. And also, most people think, about books as something for yourself, but books make great gifts. That's one of our really, really big hashtag is we hashtag support begin support. What does that mean? That means that if you want support, you got to give support. And also hashtag books are great gifts. So, Mother's Day just passed. You can always put a Mother's Day gift together. We do t-shirts, so you definitely can put a t-shirt with that Mother's Day gift. And, so we do all kinds of things, to make it, something you could take part of.
That would be great.
So what are your hopes or your plans for the future for your bookstore? How do you hope to grow your audience? What do you do to bring people in to the bookstore?
Well, every interaction I have, I'm always trying to notate those interactions, sending out emails and so forth, keeping people abreast of what we're trying to do. Eventually, the goal is to build a team to be able to have a designated person with each, part of it. Because right now, I pretty much, do a lot of the different, wear all the different hats and so forth. But eventually, I would like to put a team together to take care of all them different, sections of the KRC bookstore, the is in the book, platform. And it was really cool. I was talking to somebody and they start singing the song, and I didn't realize that, a lot of times we doing things we do in our childhood, it affects us as adults and we don't realize it. And
Right.
The name actually was something that was embedded in me when I was as a kid listening to Reading Rainbow, and so people be like, they sing this song. I'd be like, you know what, you sure right. And I didn't realize that I had picked that up from that particular show. So that was something that was very, very much a part of the Black culture.
Love Reading Rainbow.
The Reading Rainbow. Yes, ma'am. So I thought that was awesome. I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to share that.
Well, if people want to, if they're in the Houston area and want to attend your event, how do we have some information on that in the chat, Rhonda?
Well, no, but I do have the KRC Bookstore Instagram, and there's a flyer about the event on the Instagram page. And I also have a link to the bookstore website in the chat already.
Okay. Okay, well,
as simply as they send me, you can definitely always shoot me a message if for whatever reason you cannot remember the Instagrams. All our platforms are KRC Bookstore, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and what's the other one? TikTok. Or you can reach out to me, get on my personal page, get into my chat box. I would love to hear from you. I love hearing from people.
Yeah, and she does respond to her DMs. I can attest to that. So anyway, Tammie, thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. I hope to see you in July at your event. And good luck with your bookstore as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And Miss Rhonda, safe travels up to New York.
Thank
Pray
you.
for your traveling grace. And Miss Gwen, if I don't see you in July and you up there in New York, traveling graces to you as well.
I won't be there in July, but I might be there for the Harlem Book Fair.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about it. And me talking to Max just put something in my mind. So I might do that. So anyway, Tammie, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much, Miss Gwen. I definitely appreciate you having me on. I do not take these opportunities lightly by far. Much blessings with Black Authors Matter. Um, best wishes with all that. I pray for growth and so forth. I see you doing your thing. Much blessings to it, as well as you too, Miss Rhonda.
Thank you. You are so sweet, and I hope to stay connected. I gotta get my books into your store. So yeah, we have to stay connected.
Yes, ma'am. Get with me. I definitely have an option for that as well.
Awesome.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, you have a wonderful evening.
Y'all too. Have a blessed day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, before we bring on our guest for the book club kickback, our author, I do want to let the audience know that for the National Black Book Festival, we have a children's festival on that Saturday. And the festival is entirely free unless you eat. That's what I tell people. We have special events where food is served. If you're not eating the food, then everything is free. But for this year, for our children's festival, we have a sponsor. And so every child will get a free book. Every child that attends will get a free book. So, and the sponsor is a nonprofit called We Need Diverse Books. And Doris Allen, she was at HarperCollins and she's been on the show before, but now she's one of the chief players in that organization. So she's going to come on the show in a couple of weeks and talk about what the organization does and what her role is in it. But they're going to be providing the books for the Children's Festival. So we're going into our next phase of the show, which is our book club kickback with author Alyssa Cole. And she is a best-selling author. She's really set the world on fire with her first book. And she's been really putting out a whole bunch of books ever since. Her first book was When No One Is Watching. So, and she's joining us from somewhere in the world. And she said it was 3 a.m. So I don't know where she is. God bless you. And Alyssa, you look so fresh, like you just woke up.
Yeah, that's this light over here. So I'm not gonna get too close to the screen.
Well, can you tell us where you are?
I'm in France.
Yay!
Oh, okay.
Which part? Are you in Paris or different?
No, I'm in Dijon. So it's we're mustard. We're the mustard. It's from.
I must say there are much better cities than Paris. So I'm glad to know that you're not in Paris. And I'm sure that the city where you are, I've not been to Dijon. I've been to quite a few cities in France, but I don't believe I've been to that city, but I'm sure it's beautiful.
It is. It's a small city. It's nice. I think people are much nicer than they are in Paris. So, you know, Paris has its charms, but it's a bigger city. So
now, do you live in France full time? Oh, okay.
I do. Well, I just moved here less than a year ago. Before that, I was living in the French Caribbean.
Ooh. Okay.
So,
okay. All right. Now, where are you from, like originally? Where were you? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in the Bronx and lived there for part of my childhood, and then we moved to Jersey City. So New York, New Jersey, and then like as an adult, I moved back to I moved to Brooklyn, and then I lived there until I moved to Martinique in the French Caribbean. So I grew up in New York and in New Jersey.
So did you just have a thirst for travel and experiencing other cultures, or was it work that took you to these different countries?
I did love traveling, but I ended up getting married to a French man, so then that's why I ended up living here. But before that, I did love traveling and stuff.
Yeah. So some people who follow me know that I lived in Belgium for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I got to visit so many different countries in France. And I like the smaller, lesser known cities way better than the popular cities. I mean, they have character, they have a different culture. I loved everything about them. So sometimes we would just jump in the car and drive to a different country because it was easy to do. You could be there in less than a couple hours, depending on where you are. But that was what I love. So you just bringing back memories just talking with you right now.
Well, well, I wanted to acknowledge we have a couple of book clubs on the show. So I wanted to have them just mention their book club and where they're located. And we probably will have some more sign in as the show goes on. But Dondi, do you want to go first?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dondi. I am in Northern California, and I have a virtual book club, and we are right now called A Sip, a Shout Out, and a Sentence, and all of the members are actually women writers. And so Gwen was actually one of our first book club writers who actually came in to talk to us a few months ago.
Nice. Nice
Yeah, I enjoy the conversation. I'm both Rhonda and I are authors. So I had a recent book, my newest book. I'm still meeting with book clubs and did one yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I enjoy that. So then Melinda, where are you located and which book club are you with?
Hi, I'm with the At the Kitchen Table Book Club, and we're located in Georgia and Florida. We have members in Georgia and Florida.
Okay. And Dondi, you changed the name of your book club. You were Hush Harbor.
We were Hush Harbor, and that was over the pandemic when we were focusing mainly on copyleft, so things that the copyright had already dropped, because most of the members were elderly and don't have a lot of extra money to buy a lot of books. And then, with the pandemic ending, that died a slow death, and a few people were just adamant, you need to bring the book club back. So I did, and now we purchase books, and that is a good thing because we get authors like Gwen and Rhonda, and maybe you, Alyssa, to come and talk to us. But it's also a bad thing because people will do things like go to the library and stuff like that. But I'm a big about buying the book because I like to abuse my books, write in them, and have little notes and everything else. And how did she do this? When did she foreshadow this? I need to go back and look. So I'm a book abuser.
Well, I understand book abusers. I like the fact that you admit that you're a book abuser. Yes. I remember the first time I went to a book club meeting, and the members came in with rubber bands around their books because they wanted to try to keep it straight. They would read their books like this, barely cracked, because they didn't want to mess up the spine. They're very serious about preserving their books.
See, Gwen sent me a signed copy. That's on the bookshelf. And then I buy the one that I want to abuse.
Oh, that's okay. So you double up. You double up.
Yeah, I double up. And then, like, if it's a book I really like, I'll buy 3 because I'll buy one for one of my siblings. So, because they'll steal books, and I don't want them to steal the one that's in the bookshelf. Yeah. And my brothers, those are the ones they always steal because they know they're signed.
Right.
And they'll claim them. No, this was mine. No, it says Dondi. It doesn't say her.
So, Alyssa, do you meet with book clubs often?
I do, not very often, usually because of time
The
difference
time difference.
stuff, but I do, and it's always fun getting to talk to people about the book and how they hearing people's actual reaction to reading it after spending so long writing it and hoping that people will enjoy it.
Yeah, in fact, I reached out to you directly and I appreciate you responding because a lot of times when you go through the publishers and the gatekeepers, they don't respond or they don't respond in a timely manner. They've gotten better. I think because our show has gotten so much traction, we have a solid base of viewers and we can prove our numbers and all that, then we're able to get most 80% of the time we're able to get the people that we ask for. Sometimes we can't. And sometimes we could, but because our show is live and it's at night and our time is 7 to 9 or 8 to 10 on the East Coast, for some people, it's too late. Even the 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock is too late for them. Or they want something taped. I've had people say, more than 2 people, they want to tape the show in the daytime or something. But I told them we never tape. Everything's live. It's always live. And that's just what we do. And when it's live, anything can happen, which makes it interesting.
Yes, the element of surprise
Yeah,
is
there's
always
an
fun.
element of surprise. So you write a lot of different stuff, Alyssa. You're in like 15 different genres. How do you how are you able to compartmentalize that keep it in order? How do you decide I'm gonna jump on this one, I'm gonna go historical this month or whatever, then I'm gonna go romance, then I'm gonna do a thriller? How do you balance all of that?
So I think basically when I first started writing, I didn't really think about genre. And like as a kid, I was usually reading stuff from my parents' bookcase that I was stealing. So like Gandhi's siblings. So I was usually taking whatever they had and there would be science fiction or horror or the things that were at my school library with the kids books and stuff that were for younger readers. So I didn't really grow up like with the firm understanding of like that there was a strong line between genres just because I was like I just want to read what I want to read. And then my main thing as a kid was like why are there not more characters that look like me and my family and my friends? So when I started writing, I think that my writing, the ideas that I get for stories kind of reflects that. It's kind of like whatever kind of idea jumps out at me. And I did focus on romance at the beginning, and most of my stories, no matter what I write, will have romance in them. But then within that, they can be science fiction elements or historical fiction or contemporary fiction. So I just kind of, especially more so now that I've started like officially writing thrillers, because I had some like romantic suspense and some historical fiction that was like spy fiction. So it was like kind of domestic suspense in a way, but it was more marketed more for the romance and historical aspect. And now that I'm like officially writing thrillers, I can more make a conscious decision when I have an idea of like, okay, what kind of for this story, what genre would work best? Like for When No One Is Watching, which was like my first my debut thriller. There's a strong romantic element, but the topic is gentrification, which I had like covered a little bit in a contemporary romance, a contemporary royalty romance. But then I realized as I was writing it that I couldn't really delve into the topic as much because it was more upbeat and more focused on things like a secret duke and stuff like that. So I couldn't really get into the gentrification and stuff as much as I thought I would. And then I realized that a thriller would be the better vehicle for the better genre for like really diving into that. And I could still have the romance element, but was able to like be a bit go a bit darker than I would for a contemporary romance.
So do you write full time?
I do.
You do? Okay. I thought so with the number of titles that you released.
Although I will say that most of the books were written, I've written, I feel like less since I started writing full time because before I was an editor for a scientific journal and I was writing full time, I was working full time and then accidentally writing full time because then I had all these deadlines. So since I worked until like the end of 2017 basically, but I was working before remote stuff got popular. I was working remotely, but it wasn't really working with the island internet, so I had to stop. So it's like, okay, I have to transition to being a writer full time and I have to make it work because I don't know, I can't speak French well enough to get a real job. So it was like, all right, I got to make this work. And luckily, and it was also good for me because, you know, editors don't make that much money. So I was like, all right, I don't have like that high of a baseline to reach. I just gotta, it's still hard, you know, if you're a writer, you know, but I was luckily able to make the transition.
Well, that's good. And being an author, do you find yourself first of all, being an author overseas, in Europe, do you find yourself having kind of weird hours, so to speak? Or do you seem like you get a lot of things done in the middle of the night because the United States is up in the middle of the night?
So when I was in Martinique, I was actually lucky because I was on the same time zone for the most part as the US. And then now that I moved here, it's been interesting trying to figure out what my hours are. Like sometimes, like you said, like before I was trying to keep like normal hours, but then sometimes it starts to drift more um, towards later or the middle of the night, depending which before a long time ago when I lived by myself, I used to work more because I was working after work. So I would end up working like at night and in the middle of the night. So like now I'm trying to refine the best time for my brain to work because it isn't in the morning. It's not like 9 in the morning. Even when I was working full time, I would be like, okay, I'm not really getting anything done until later in the day anyway. So yeah, it has been interesting trying to make the adjustment and like figure out times that overlap. Um, with working time as an author, but also like, co-working with my writer friends when we do a Zoom to work together, stuff like that.
Now, I did want to jump back a little bit because something that you said struck me. You said that, you were reading all types of books as a young girl, and then you noticed that the characters did not look like you. How old do you think you were, or how long had you been reading before you realized that the characters didn't look like you? Because I'm kind of like you, where I was doing a lot of reading as a young girl, but I didn't really think about the fact that the characters that I was reading were white. I don't even think that really hit me until I was a little bit older. Like, hey, there aren't any black kids in these books that I'm reading. And so I'm just wondering when that realization struck you.
I think part of it was, and I actually have the book here. Hold on, I'm gonna get it. So this is a book that I took when I was visiting my childhood home when my parents were moving. So there were these,
Rumpelstiltskin?
yeah, it was these fairy tales that I got, I think I was around 8, and there was fairy tales, but with black, retold with black characters, and the characters had like Black names, and the stories were essentially the same, but the art had like Black princesses and stuff like that, which is probably why I have a contemporary royalty series. I'm sure it was influenced by reading that. So I think it was partially because I had this example of because there's a whole series of these books that I really loved that have Black characters. And then I was like, wait, let me find some more books like that. And I realized that there weren't any, there really weren't many other books. And at that time, this was the late 80s and early 90s. Can you hold them for 1 second? I'm sorry, the cat opened the door in case.
Oh, that book that she showed, we had that book and that series of books when we had our bookstore, our brick and mortar
The
store.
cat has decided to start causing chaos in the middle of the night. But
yeah,
so I
we
think
had that book in our bookstore, that and those books. I used to have a brick and mortar bookstore from 2000 to 2010. And we had that book in there in the series of books that were a play off of your typical Mother Goose or fairy tales, but they had all Black characters in it. And I forgot the name of the author. Is it on there?
it's Fred Crump Jr. And it's actually funny
Yes, Fred
because
Crump.
I
Yes.
looked it up as an adult. Like before I started writing my books, I went and looked it up, and he was actually a white man. He was an art teacher, I think, in Detroit, but he was an art teacher in a predominantly Black school. And his kids would always, his like students would always say, why don't the characters in books look like us? And so he decided to start to make this series. I fully, until I was an adult, thought that it was a Black man who made
Yeah, and
these
I
books.
assumed it was because I never met him, but I just assumed that it was. So you give me some. We had those books and they sold very well.
Yeah, so I think that was a big influence. And then once I realized it, so I used to like read books and talking about like destroying books or like even short stories that because they used to have them in the tabloids or in magazines, and I would edit the stories. I would take my little whiteout and white out the character description and change it so that the characters have brown skin and brown eyes and brown hair or Black hair. Because at a certain point I just started getting aggravated. I was like, why? Of course, and I can imagine it while I'm writing. We all do that. We sometimes change the race of the character when everyone you were reading was a white character to like when you're imagining it in your head to look more like you. But I think at a certain point I was just like, this doesn't make any sense because I'm reading, my parents were reading, my friends were reading. Why do none of the characters look like us? And I think I always loved writing and or telling stories. So I think eventually that was part of I used to mostly write for myself because I wanted to read characters that look like me.
So when you kind of made your debut and you became your profile was elevated, let me say that, with your debut thriller, and you started getting all these awards and accolades. How were you feeling during that time? Like how was that? How were you managing the attention you were getting with continuing to write?
Um, it was a little big. That was one good thing about not being in the US was that I kind of like I wasn't able to go to all of these events. I wasn't able, there was the downside, like I wasn't able to do as much promotional work. And it was also during the pandemic, when No One Is Watching came out in September of 2020, I think.
Okay.
So, one thing is that I don't really process stuff like that to begin with. So like I don't know how to describe it. Because I started writing for myself, I didn't particularly have any goals as a writer. which sounds so like obviously I wanted people to read my books and I wanted to be able, once I made it into a profession, I wanted to be able to support myself. But a good part, it's a double-edged sword though, of like, because writing is something that I have always done, whether with no expectation of like any reward for it, because it's just something I need to do. That on the one hand, um, I wasn't expecting any accolades. Like I didn't have it as a priority for me of like, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's mostly just like, I need to pay my bills is the main priority if I'm going to do this as a full-time profession, but I'm going to be doing it anyway. But then actually, you know, getting the praise and the getting more readers and having more people talking about my books. I think a lot of the time, like I pay attention to it in the sense of like I appreciate people reading my books and I try to interact with them and try to let them know that I appreciate it when I can. But I also a good thing I think is that I try not to like let it influence me. But at the same time, I'm a human. So even if I'm not consciously thinking about it, it was still influencing me. And I felt like there was still a bit of more pressure than there was before. So the second thriller, for many reasons, one of them was burnout because I had written so many books before and then I burnt out. And then I had this like successful book and then I was expected to have the follow-up really quickly in addition to several other books that I was supposed to write. And at a certain point, and then it was like during the pandemic and my brain and my body were like, we're not doing that. Like you are gonna take so it took like the book One of Us Knows took me the longest time to write. And it was like technically difficult, but it wasn't like writer's block. It was more like um being overly focused on the book being like perfect. So that is part of why it took longer. And like I wasn't really thinking about it, but part of it obviously was like, okay, I can't mess up. But it was like kind of this thing that had built up because when I started in romance, there's a long history of Black romance writers, but there was also like this new, I feel like publishing kind of has these cycles where they pretend that diversity, which I hate that word, is something new and they're like promoting it like Black people exist. But like as if people didn't know that before. So it was this period of like publishers kind of acting like if your book failed, then you were messing it up for every other Black person that wanted to publish a book. So I had like this long period of like writing a lot of books, but also putting a lot of pressure on myself. Like, okay, you have to make sure that this book is like, um, not perfect. Obviously, you can't write a perfect book, but like there was the additional pressure that I think most white writers will never even have to think about. It's like, if my book fails, it will be used in the marketing meeting to say, okay, we can't take this other person's book because this one Black person failed. So I think that was more pressure than any success. Like the success added to it a little bit because it was like, okay, is the next book going to fail now? Is the next book going to fail now? And like, but I think one thing I was happy about was being able to write a book about gentrification and about socially relevant issues that was still appreciated for being like exciting and interesting and getting a lot of people to think about those aspects. And supposedly having publishers realize that you can write a marketable successful book about these kinds of things, but publishing's going to do what it's going to do, so who knows. But
I'm glad that you touched on that because there are so many authors who dream of making it, so to speak. They want to hit these New York Times bestseller lists. They want to be mentioned with the greats, but I don't think everybody appreciates the amount of pressure that goes along with that. If you hit it big, so to speak, with that one book, they're expecting you to follow it up with the next best thing. And so that can be a lot of pressure on you when you're starting to write. And I think often that's where the writer's block will set in, or almost freezing, like, okay, what do I write next? Because you're trying to figure out, is this going to resonate the way the last book did?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of pressure. That, what you described is so indicative of so many different institutions. But because white professionals, writers / whatever, they are allowed to fail individually or succeed individually.
Right, but it's a collective.
It's a collective. Yeah. It's everybody, and I mean, it's such an unfair measure of work, and it's too much pressure. And it was really well depicted in American fiction. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't.
Oh, you should. I think every Black writer should see it, just because it shows how the absurdity.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I haven't seen it yet, I was like, I need to be in the right headspace.
I've done that before. I put off watching a movie because I thought I needed to be in the right headspace. But this one, I didn't care what headspace I was in. I was going to watch that movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah, and I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I didn't know that I would. I didn't really understand exactly what it was about. But it's about what you've described, the idea that we aren't able to succeed or fail in publishing, but you can use the same measure in other industries. But in the book industry, the decision making is so white that when Black people write, and I've heard authors tell me this, and they depicted it well in the movie, that the industry will tell them their book is not Black enough. The characters aren't Black enough, but there's white people telling them their characters are not Black enough. It is so absurd but the absurdity is well depicted in American fiction. So,
yeah, I do want to see it.
Go ahead. It's really worth watching.
I was just going to say, one thing that I've been pretty lucky about is I've never had an editor who tried to tell me anything about race in my books.
That's good. Well, that's good.
One of my first editors was a Black woman, Essie Soga, who was at Kensington, and now she's at Berkeley. And my other editor who I worked with for the longest time was Erica Sang, who is Asian American, and who never had any kind of commentary about like Blackness in my books or anything like that, either positive or negative, not like take this out or add this in. Or I've been lucky that I haven't had those kinds of like editing relationships with any editors where they try to like control the content in that way. But I do think, and I'm sure probably for a lot of people who were picked up in 2020, there was probably some element of editorial over interest in like the Blackness levels of their books. And I think now there's also kind of like a weird backlash going on a little. I won't call it a backlash, but it's a backlash. Like one of the things that I've been talking about with a couple of my friends is like, now that there's this DEI backlash, DEI is just another word for woke. It's just another word for Black people and other people of color, but primarily Black people. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out in publishing. I think I have seen some cases of it seems like publishers are trying to like stay away from controversial topics. But if you think that being a Black person is a controversial topic, then how does that affect what authors you're picking up, how much you're paying them? Sorry, my cat is like trying to
I have
be
a cat,
annoying.
so I get it. We're a cat house here.
Once he sees I'm on
We're a
Zoom,
cat
he's like,
family.
all
I need
right.
to say it like that. So I understand cats. They'll wait till you're busy and to get your attention. My cat he'll walk across my keyboard. I mean, really do. But they're like children in a way. They if they want your attention, they figure out how to get it. So
He is literally like standing on my monitor right now. Like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore him. But yeah, so I do think it will be interesting, and I've been trying to keep an eye on because of course certain books are getting, I won't say they're getting more publicity from publishers, because I don't know if publishers really are doing all of that, but I think people, it might seem, obviously there are more books being published now, but seeing what comes out in the next couple of years to see what they're actually my God, okay. To see what they're
well, we
actually
can. At least his
acquiring.
tail's not wagging in front of the camera.
He's just trying to knock down something. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah.
But you're all right. The next couple of years, because I noticed this uptick in. Well, we interview the people on this show. There's a lot more books coming out than there were when we started the show 4 years ago. There's in particularly certain genres. Historical fiction is one, and then fantasy and thrillers too. But those areas, there are a lot of books being released. But one thing, we have to continue to support the authors and support their work, because if there's any kind of dip, like you were saying, then a lot of times they'll just say, well, this isn't working anymore, and they'll move on. It's kind of like, so we have to continue to support the authors. And then there's a lot of people self-publishing, and we can continue to support them too, because that's a way that they can do things without the middleman, so to speak. And so that's another area. So we want to let people know about the new book and what's that about. One of us knows. And the focus of this book is it's called DIO. No, DID. Dissociative Identity Disorder. I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. It's from Philadelphia Printworks is the company, I think.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Because it's making a statement, and it just everybody knows what that means. It's but it's not like in your face, but it is in you. It's like subtle. So, what made you? Well, you have your copy of the book. I have my copy, but then it's in another room. I meant to bring it in here. One of us knows, and I think is it in hardcover and paperback? Did it get
It is in hardcover. I didn't pick up a hardcover when I was in the US, but I need to get a copy because it's my first one that's in hardcover too.
Oh, okay.
So One of Us Knows, it's about a dissociative identity disorder system, and dissociative identity disorder used to be known as multiple personality disorder. And I decided to write about it because one of the reasons is because usually if it shows up in a thriller, it's at the end of the thriller when they realize that the character, like a lot of the bad stuff being done was being done by one of the personalities. So it's usually like the surprise ending and placing it in, a bad light of like, if you have this disorder, then one of them has to be bad, crazy, violent, a killer, and dangerous. So I kind of want, and that, the characters won't know what's going on. So I wanted to play around with the idea of a multiple POV thriller where each character knows something. But you have to put it all together as you move through the story to figure out what's going on, but they're all in the same body. They all are have the same brain technically, but they are not the same person. And so they are not, all the information isn't available to them. And the main protagonist, Ken, is the character who in another thriller or movie would be the bad guy, would be, the dangerous one. And she is aware of this. She has been dormant for 6 years because she just doesn't want to deal with it anymore. She's tired of always feeling like the bad guy. And at the beginning of the story, she basically wakes up. She's been dormant for 6 years. She has basically slept through COVID, and the COVID is still ongoing in the book. She slept through Trump, and she basically wakes up. They have this new job, and she has no idea what's going on. She doesn't want to be there, but is kind of forced into this situation because she's the only one who can. Each in this disorder, often if the people are aware that they have it and they've started to like figure things out, there are some members of the system who can front, which is being in control of the body, handling the everyday things. There are some who can do it for longer periods of time. There are some who can never do it. There are some who can only do it for a few minutes. And basically, she is the only one at the point that we meet her in the book who can front for a long period of time. So she is forced to, she has no choice about whether she's going to be caught up in everything going on. And I chose Dead because I thought it would just be a really fun and kind of challenging way to do a mystery and a thriller and have all these different elements. And these people who have to work together, they really have no choice. If they don't work together and figure out what's going on, then like they're not going to survive.
Well, challenge is the word I was going to use because it sounds like it was a challenge. Keeping your characters straight, keeping the storyline straight because you're coming at so many different points of view. What was one way that you were able to just keep all of your characters aligned, so to speak?
Some of it was planning, a lot of it was trial and error. It was, I planned it out and I was like, okay, so there are at least 6 points of view in the story. Ken's is the primary, and then the main secondary is Solomon, who is kind of like her better half, also kind of her ex-boyfriend. It's complicated. And basically I had ideas of how I wanted everyone to be and how the story would go, because this character does this character serves this purpose. And then as I was writing the characters, that would change. It would be like, okay, no, actually this doesn't really work. This character is more like originally I had Solomon is like kind of uptight, but I had him being like way more uptight at the beginning. I was like, no, this doesn't really work for him, because he's also one of her love interests, and he needed to be a little more approachable, so that changed him. And then like other characters, thinking about how they were, so I would have to change each character, but every time I would like figure out who the character was and how they interacted, in the main storyline, but also with each other headmate in the system, that would then change the story a bit, because it would change how they're going to react to everything as it went on. And as I was learning more about dissociative identity disorder, kind of playing around with things, one of the reasons it was hard to write is that there were so many variables, like with each character and then each possibility. And when I started writing it, and until basically very close to the end, I didn't know who the one of us who knew was, because there were like, I had a few different possibilities that each of them could have been a viable ending and an ending that I think would have been good, but I had to figure out which one was the best one for the story that I was trying to tell.
Did you have to do a lot of research about the disorder
I
in
did.
writing the book?
I did a lot of research about the disorder, which I find just fascinating what human brains can do. And there are some people who don't think it exists. They think anyone who has it is faking it, and that it's just done for attention. But I don't think so. And I actually had an accuracy reader who is someone, who is part of a dissociative identity disorder system, who was able to give me feedback for my ideas and kind of give me an overall, because there are so few books about this, like books and movies and stuff about dissociative identity disorder, that I wanted to make sure that the representation was good and that nothing in the book would be harmful, because people would be likely to read it. And I wanted to make sure that there was nothing harmful, even accidentally harmful. Obviously, like, each person is different. There could be something that someone finds triggering or upsetting, but I wanted to make sure that at the very least, I tried my hardest to understand it since I don't have it, and to make sure that there would not be anything that would be harmful either for other people who don't have it and who are reading it, if they think, like, if they take that as fact. So I tried to be as factual as possible and make sure that everything that happened is within the realm of possibility. And then also make sure that someone who does have it reading it would feel like it was a good representation, and also not be harmed by it. So I did a lot of research, and part of another reason why I was interested in it was, I don't know if you have ever experienced this, but have you ever had like a place in your dream that you dream about, like that only exists in your dream, or it could be based on a real place in real life, but that you're in a dream and you're like, oh yeah, I was in this place in my dream last week, or like, or some people don't experience this at all. Some people have it to varying degrees. Some people have places that they've been visiting their entire lifetime. So in this book, the characters do have an inner world, which is like a house inside of their mind where they all live. And that's one of the things that leads people to say, like, oh, this isn't real, like they're just making this up. But I feel like, because I have had like these kind of dream places, I feel like that's probably the same function that in a more extreme level would lead to people being able to have their own inner world, um, and populate that inner world. That kind of first started me thinking about dissociative identity disorder in this way. And so all the research stuff was really interesting, and it was fun for me to a certain extent. Like, there's a lot of not fun stuff, since it's a disorder that's caused by trauma. But like, just thinking about how the brain works and what it's capable of, and how people who have this disorder are able to kind of make it work, and live with it, and try to make it work, was super interesting to me.
Well, I want to get Melinda and Dondi involved in the conversation. Did you all have some questions for Alyssa?
I do. Because you do write across a lot of genres. I think I read before that you started off indie published, like you self-published a few books before you actually were agented. And I was wondering how easy was that to switch from indie to traditional? And then how easy was it, or how difficult was it to get an agent?
So I technically am still a hybrid. So mostly because I've been fulfilling my traditional publishing contracts, I haven't really self-published anything in the last few years, but I technically still am a hybrid and still do publish indie and have plans for some indie books. So when I started out, I was published by some smaller at the same time as I was starting to self-publish, I was being published by ebook publishers, which, are not as common anymore, that, would only publish the ebook and maybe like a very small print run of the book. For my, I had a romantic suspense and I had a sci-fi dystopian type post-apocalypse, but not like in a zombie kind of way. It's like cozy apocalypse because I was like, I don't really know what genre it is. But I also was starting to write historical fiction. And at that time, it was pretty difficult to publish historical fiction with Black authors. There was, of course, Beverly Jenkins, the Queen. I love her. But publishers.
People compare you to her a lot. I don't know if you know that.
That is, one of the highest honors.
They do.
I love her, and like I'm happy to say that I'm friends with her. The first time I met her, I literally went mute and could not talk. I spent a whole
Oh wow.
a whole evening. We went to dinner, and then she like just joined us at a conference. I was sitting across from her, literally just like. But now I can talk to her like a normal person. But she's amazing. But like one of the things that is so amazing about her is that like after just a few years in the publishing industry, I was like, I was like, this is so ridiculous, and like putting up with all of, the nonsense about like who's going to read your book and not knowing how to market it. And she's been going strong for so long that it's incredible to think about like the things that must have been 1,000 times worse that she put up with, and that, Brenda Jackson, Rochelle Allard, and all those the people who came out in the 90s who are still going somehow. Just must have like incredible willpower. But so, she was there, she was going strong, but you could still sit and talk to a publisher and they would be like, well, there's no market for that. No one wants, and it's, and I'd be like, don't you create the market? Like, what is your function? But so like in addition to publishing my other things, I was self-publishing historical novellas and short stories. And I think the interesting thing was being able to kind of write what I wanted in historical, and then eventually I was able to write to publish my, a historical series with a traditional publisher that did very well. But, if you talk to publishers, they will still say, oh, there's not really a market for that. More people are, obviously it wasn't just me and Beverly Jenkins. There's Piper Hughley, there's Vanessa Riley, who I think had a book that came out today, A Gamble at Sunset. And there's, several other authors, still not enough, but several other authors. And I think one of the benefits of being self-published was, even though I'm not like an expert at it, like some people really have the business brain and are able to see all of the angles and like think about all the marketing, publicity, and getting their books out there. But it was also having an understanding of the back end of the process and being able to help market my trad pub books, and also understand like where things weren't being done or what more could be done. Getting an agent was difficult at the beginning. I hope it's easier now for people, but I think it's one of those things that's always difficult for everybody. And, there would be people who just because when I first went on submission, it was with a historical fiction set during the Civil War. And there were some people who were just like, I had an editor say to me, well, no one wants to read about the Civil War, or like, no one buys those books. And it's like, you haven't even read my book. You don't know what my book is about. Like,
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to say that just because it's set during a certain time period? So getting an agent, I did eventually find an agent and she was great. I work with a different agent now, but I think the biggest thing that I tell people about getting an agent is that it's a relationship. In a way, it's like kind of like a marriage because you are working together. Your books together that you put out are your kids, because even if you switch agents, even if you move on, you are still that agent still has the connection to your books and, you know, will still be dealing. Yeah, they still get paid and they still are responsible for certain things for your book. So it's like having kids, even if you get divorced or break up, you're still going to be dealing with this person. So there can be all of this pressure to just get an agent, but make sure you like the person.
Yes.
Make sure that they
that's like marrying people. Make sure you like the person, not just love them. You have to like them too.
Yeah. Make sure you can talk to them.
Yes. Communication.
And make sure that, you know, to the best of your ability, that it's someone that if things do go differently and you're not going to work together anymore, that they're not going to be petty or like, you know, trying to hurt your career, and make sure that they, you know, actually care about your career. Because there were some agents, I was lucky to work with an agent who actually did care about my career and not just the book that I was presenting to them, because sometimes some agents will just want to promote a specific book. But then if you have other things in the pipeline, they're like, oh, I don't really want to deal with that. Okay, I'm sorry, hold on for 1 second. The cat is doing something right now.
Well, we're getting close to the end of our time, and we're giving away 3 books. So I wanted to do the trivia.
We better
the trivia questions about
one of the first offers that I got from an agent was okay.
Oh, we're getting toward the end, and we have 3 trivia questions that we're doing to give away the 3 books. And you've sent us the autograph plates that we can put in them. So it would be great if we had more time, but let me do the trivia and then we might be able to close out with whatever you were getting ready to tell us. So the first question is and anybody can answer this. It can be the 2 book clubs that are on or anybody online. Which of the headmates was only 4 years old? And one of us knows the name of the headmate or the personality that was only 4 years old. There's an answer for that. And then the second trivia, okay. Melinda answered it, even though she's misspelled Kiki, but that is correct. So Melinda, you get a copy of the book. And you can answer either in the chat or in the comments online. The next trivia is, what was the name of the castle that controls that's central to the story in the book? The name of the castle. So the first person to answer that, Lydia did Kiki, but it's
she did it after
you did it after Melinda, and Melinda did it in the chat. So Lydia, the chat for the Zoom is separate from the comments. So she did answer first. I do want to let Lydia know that we're not dissing her. Okay. Nobody's answered this question yet. So, and the final one is, what is Ken's real name? Ken is the central character in the story. What is Ken's real name, full name, first and last? So Alyssa, in a final minute, you were getting ready to talk about someone that you had worked with.
Oh no,
You're
it's
done.
that part.
Oh, okay.
And does anyone have any other last question?
Yeah, we have 1 minute. 1 minute for any other questions, and have to be fast. And if you answer the question, the other 2, we haven't gotten answers yet, but if you do, if it's after the show's gone off the air, then you can still win the book. You just have to DM us your address if you're not already in our system. If you won a book before, then you're in the system. So, well, Alyssa, since we're like 1 minute from it, okay, Melinda answered the second question, Grace. Yes, the name of the castle is Grace. So she answered that. And Dondi answered the Kenitria Nash, the last question. So that's it. All three of you won books. Lydia, Melinda said you can have her book. So we 3 books, 3 autographed books we're giving away. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for staying up or getting up with us all the way from France. And we appreciate you so much. And congratulations.
And I appreciate you asking me to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And that's it for this week. We're signing off. And I'm Gwen Richardson saying good night.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.